Okay, so somewhat in continuation of the episode from yesterday in relation to self-help and complacency, and shout out again to Tony Webster. Cheers T for giving me a bit of a push to get me back in the saddle. It's surprising how little it takes sometimes to pull your finger out and get a bit done, whether that be, you know, running or dieting or podcasting or YouTubing or whatever it might be. So cheers to the bit of a push, Tony. So yesterday I compared what Tony described me as being a kind of a self-help person, and then I kind of likened, or he said himself that he wasn't so much of a self-help person, and that made me label him a complacent person. Now, I mentioned in the episode yesterday that I wasn't overly happy with that, because complacency, there's negative connotations to it, and of course there's positive connotations to, you know, a self-help person. So I didn't want to seem like I was saying I was great and he was shit by any stretch of the imagination. But what it's got me thinking about is work, because what I ended up saying yesterday was I've become, I suppose, complacent in my work. And what I found is over the years this has popped up intermittently for various different reasons. But what essentially happens is I find myself with time on my hands, and I don't do well when I have time on my hands. I'm far better off, like I was back in the day when I started the business, up at 3 o'clock in the morning. The van is loaded from the night before. It takes an hour and 20 to get to my first stop in Dublin city centre. That's 20 past 4 in the morning. You get unloaded, you go do your next drop at the port, and your few drops, and I used to pull into the Hill of Tara on my way back from a delivery, so it'd be 6 o'clock in the morning, and my delivery's done, I'd be halfway home, and I go and do a run, and then I come home, and then I get a bit of a shower and something to eat, and then I go to work and do a 10-hour day, and the stress was there, and the fucking time horizons were there, and it was just fucking go, 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 go. And it wasn't sustainable, and it was very stressful. And I had absolutely no time, none. Everything that I did was squeezed in between doing one thing and another thing. And that's not entirely healthy. But what I have now at the minute is an abundance of time. And not in a good way, because what I found over the years is when I have time on my hands, if I don't have something to direct my energy into, I tend to internalize that energy, and I tend to fucking tear myself up a little. Or a lot, depending on the day. And the dilemma that I have at the minute is when I'm in work, there's loads of work has to be done. Like we're pumping out between 1,000 and 1,200 boxes a week, and that doesn't just happen by itself. So there's an absolute mountain of work that I could get stuck into to do. But the more of that work that I do, myself personally, the less work there is for the people that I employ to do. And I don't have an endless amount of extracurricular stuff for those guys to be doing. Now maybe that's what I need to change. Maybe I need to start thinking about if I had one of those lads or both of those lads completely free for a day a week, which would easily be done. It just means I'd have to jump in 16 hours a week, which would kind of suit me, to free both of them up 8 hours a piece. What would I have them doing? But I suppose, and there's a core element to what I'm talking about here that I can hopefully extrapolate to fucking everything. When you're not doing great, however that might manifest itself in your life, you know, you're not feeling it for whatever reason, you're lacking motivation, maybe you're lacking discipline, maybe you're a bit at sea, or you're lost, or whatever. That's when you need to shake things up the most. But it's also when you're least capable / likely to shake things up the most. Like when you're on top of the world and everything is running smoothly and you have extra bandwidth to invest in something and the mood is high, you have the mental, physical and emotional bandwidth to take on more and to do more. But when you're a bit down in yourself for whatever reason, again, however it might manifest, that's when you need that bandwidth, but it's also when you don't fucking have it. So it's a bit of a catch-22. Another thing that I am struggling with now, and all the times when I have too much fucking time on my hands, is guilt. Guilt that I'm not getting stuck into something. But it's a weird one though, because as I already said, if I get stuck into the work that's there to be done, it means the lads that I fucking have in my employment don't have anything to do. And that's not good for anyone's sake. It's not good for their sake, because they would feel the pressure of, you know, Jesus, is my job secure? Because, you know, my employer doesn't have any fucking work for me half the week. Now, a quick fix of that would be upping sales, because if I was busier, there'd be more work to be done. And it's funny, isn't it? Like, you know, duh, fucking obviously. And then everybody wins, because there's going to be plenty of work for the lads. There's going to be, hopefully, fingers crossed, too much work that they can do themselves. That means that I have to jump in. So I'm kept busier. I'm happier when I'm busier, because I don't have the spare time to fucking chew myself alive. And the busier I am, the more fucking money I earn. And it's funny, because at that 1,000 to 1,200 boxes a week, everybody gets paid, you know, staff, suppliers, everything, you know, landlord, all the rest of it. Everybody gets paid their wages, and the suppliers are paid, and all the rest of it. And there's, you know, a few quid to maybe invest back into the business. Not a whole pile now, but a bit. But anything above and beyond what we're doing now, it's not pure profit, but it's not fucking far off. And we've been at that point of, you know, paying everybody and, you know, essentially breaking even for a while, for a good while, for probably far too fucking long. And financially, it'd be nice to have a bit of headspace, a bit of financial headspace. You know, like, things get tight from time to time, far tighter than they ought to. Not as tight as they were at the fucking start. Like, that was super tight and super hard. And it has gotten easier. But it's not as though I have a big war chest that if I wanted to throw, you know, even $5,000 at a new forklift, like, and that's, it's funny, this is again another way that I'm wired. So earlier on in the year, I got an email from my electricity provider saying, well, Frano, listen, just a heads up, we undercharged you to the tune of €5,000 last year, so we'll be adding $5,000 to your next ESB bill. And I went, what the fuck? Just fucking, hello, you owe us $5,000, fuck off. And I freaked out a little at the time, because I wasn't particularly flush. And then I steadied myself and I was like, right, you know what? I'll get on to them and go, right, okay, a mistake has been made. You fucked up and I have to pay this money back. Fair enough. But don't just swipe $5,000 at my bank account overnight, thanks. Divide it up over the year, like divide it by 12 and add it on every month. At least I won't be hit as hard. So that kind of settled me, and I promptly forgot all about it. And they swiped fucking $5,000 extra out of my bank account one day. And I just had to basically fucking suck that up and get on with it. But if you had asked me the day I got that email, Frano, if you found $5,000 on the ground, what would you do with it? I probably would have said I'd buy a second forklift. And then if you ask me, well, why don't you just fucking buy a second forklift? Because, you know, the likelihood of you finding $5,000 on the ground is slim to fuck all. And I would have said, but I can't afford it. I wouldn't have had to spare $5,000. But I fucking did when I had to. And there's something to that about me more broadly. Like, will I do 1,000 push-ups between now and 7 days' time? No. I'm not fucking hoping me doing 1,000 push-ups. Not the fucking colour of it. I would if I fucking had to, though. I'd have them done by fucking tomorrow evening if I fucking had to. And whereas Tony framed me as a self-help person, and I suppose I am undeniably, because I was thinking about it since, a couple of things that I didn't mention yesterday in relation to what I've done in relation to kind of self-helping myself over the past while is I gave up coffee there about 6 weeks ago. Everything I'm mentioning is about a month and a half ago. So for the last 6 weeks I've made a lot of changes. I think it came hand in hand with signing up to the marathon. That was about 6 weeks ago as well. But I gave up coffee, which was a big deal for me. Like, I was a big coffee drinker forever. But I was listening to one of my boyfriends, a guy called Chris Williamson, and another boyfriend of mine, Andrew Huberman. And both of them were kind of singing off the same hymn sheet in relation to caffeine intake. And another boyfriend of mine, Joe Delaney. The three boys were all basically saying the same thing, which was essentially people don't say that they're tired. People say that they need a coffee. And for the most part, people aren't tired. They're just not caffeinated enough. And I found that myself, like, for the last month anyway, because there was a bit of an adjustment period. For the last month, I haven't found myself kind of fading at 2 or 3 o'clock. My energy levels have been a lot more constant, which is kind of great. And I think that's purely down to another change that I've made in the last 6 weeks. I've started tracking my sleep. So I have this thing on me fucking 24/7, and I'm tracking my workouts on it, and I'm also tracking my sleep on it. So I've made great strides again in the last 6 weeks. I'm going to bed way earlier than I ever went to bed. I'm in fucking bed at 9 or half 9 these days. Like a late night, like when I'm up late, I was up late last night, that was 11:30. 11:30 used to be the time I'd go to bed, and a late night would be fucking 1 o'clock in the morning. So I'm probably averaging 45 minutes to an hour more sleep than I used to get. So I'm going to bed 2 hours earlier than I used to, but I'm only getting 45 minutes to an hour extra sleep, purely because I'm getting up earlier as well. So I'm going to bed earlier and I'm getting up earlier. And the times that I'm going to bed and getting up at are more consistent. And a change that I have to make now is keeping that consistent over the course of the weekend. Because in the sleep world, all the experts kind of agree that you're far better off getting up and going to bed at the same time all the time, regardless. Now, let yourself off for a fucking wedding or when you have to pull an all-nighter for whatever reason. But these should be very much, once-offs. It shouldn't be the same time getting up and going to bed Monday to Friday. It should be the same time getting up and going to bed, full fucking stop. Now you have to allow a bit of fucking life there as well. My alcohol consumption has absolutely plummeted as well, and that's in no small part due to just going to bed earlier. The amount of shite that I eat, chocolate and crisps and stuff, that's fallen off a big cliff as well. And again, it's because I'm going to bed earlier. Because it was in the period between 9 o'clock at night and 11 o'clock at night that I would find myself fucking stuffing myself full of fucking chocolate and sweets and biscuits and all sorts of other fucking nonsense. And I suppose all the different changes that I've made, they all have a compounding effect. So going to bed earlier makes me sleep better. At the same time, it makes me sleep better. Going to bed earlier stops me from eating shit and drinking alcohol before I go to bed, which improves my sleep quality. Because I'm going to bed at the same time and my sleep quality is improved and I'm not filling my fucking stomach full of all these fucking shitty substances before I do go to sleep, I'm waking up in better form, I'm making better decisions, and you end up in a positive feedback loop. You can train harder because you're better rested. Because you're training harder, your progress is more. because you're sleeping better, your recovery is better, so you can train harder, recover faster, which lends itself to training harder and recovering faster. And you get into that positive feedback loop. Now, why is this barrier down? Am I supposed to pay here or not? I presume I am. Right, I've landed at my destination, so I shall bid you adieu. That's more for me to think about. And on that note, I'll chat to you soon.